How would you describe that period? If you had to describe it in one word, what would you say?
Chaotic. On the pitch. Yeah.
What about off the pitch?
Fantastic.
Mae gen i broblem, gan erioed, dwi'n methu stopio siarad am bêl-droed, gen i broblem.
I think how you can sum it up for me, you didn't necessarily go for the footballing angle, you went for the social side of things.
We used to go away to away matches for a whole week and we wouldn't even discuss the football.
People didn't wear replica shirts, they didn't sing the anthem.
That's the way it was back then, you know.
Come on, Cymru gyd.
There was a point where we used to sing, especially on away trips, we'll never qualify, we'll never qualify.
We'll never qualify.
Because we never did we?
Footballing wise, we were getting hammered most of the time.
I remember going to one game in the 90s, so we won and we hadn't won for so long, and everyone was singing Jingle Bells. Oh, fun it is to see Wales win the way. And we hadn't won the way for like 3 or 4 years.
But just to pick up a point, or 3 points, was a bonus back then, but it didn't stop us going.
When you am gael canlyniad, fan o'r lle i mynd.
Do one loud clap for me.
As long as I don't catch my nose, it's massive. How would I describe watching Wales? It's hard to do in one word, but quite a bit of heartache, but a lot of fun.
I was going to say exciting, but that's probably not the word. Different. Every game was different.
Well, apart from getting very close to USA 94, it was almost become dire watching Wales after that period. We wouldn't even discuss who could or couldn't be in the team. The match was just on the periphery.
I'm trying to think of good words. Strenuous or testing, I'm thinking of it. That period, it was a very testing period for Welsh fans, very testing.
Oh. Challenging. Possibly were there for enjoyment than to expect the team to qualify or anything.
Roller coaster, fi'n credu, byddai'r gair byddwn ni'n defnyddio lan a lawr.
We had to, live off the odd draw here and there. Very rarely won. But the point was, we were supporting Wales through thick and thin. And that brought all the fans together.
Well, I guess it was kind of a series of disappointments, really. It was a series of coming ever so close and then not quite getting over the line. I mean, the Romania game was disappointing on so many levels.
The real low point for me came when we were about to qualify for the USA World Cup in 1994. We had one game to win. It was against Romania at the National Stadium.
Well, we were all very excited, as we were quite young back then as well, so full of hope, excitement, expectations, and the whole fantastic atmosphere.
Oh, the atmosphere was amazing. Yeah, the stadium was bouncing. I'd been watching Wales for years and years and years and never seen anything like it. We thought this was our time.
Playing a very good side back then. I don't think we realised how good the Romanians were.
I remember the game because, funny enough, I'd fallen asleep as the game went on. And I sort of woke up when we had, when Gary Speeds, I think it was Gary Speeds scored. And it was just bedlam from there. Then we had the penalty and everyone was convinced it was going to go in. And unfortunately he hit the bar and Paul bowled in. And it just wasn't to be. After that, it was hard to get back in the game. And Romania went on and scored the late goal, And it was just a total disappointment from everyone, we had 38,000 on the ground. And everyone being so convinced we qualified.
Bod ni mor agos, a wedyn ni'n teimlo right flat, ond wedyn oedd hwnna ddim yn bwysig wedyn o feddwl bod un o cefnogwyr ni wedi marw yn y gêm efo'r tan gwyllt.
We found out, unfortunately, that John Hill from Merthyr had lost his life the night before. So it was just devastating. And I think it took us a long time in the 90s to recover from that.
He was sat 3 seats directly behind me. And when you turn around and see what happened there, football is not the be-all and end-all.
To this day, I don't think anybody who attended that game has ever got over it. And to this day, I don't think I ever will,
Straight after that, of course, there was the appointment of John Toshak, who lasted for a single game.
I think the Norway game after really sunk in how depressed the nation was, people who actually followed football in Wales.
We thought he was going to be a saviour for us, and it just didn't last. I think it was a matter of days, actually, a couple of months.
And obviously with Toshak going and Mike Smith coming in, a few players didn't, maybe want to retire. Mike Smith finally, I think he resigned in the end. And then it was the roller coaster of Bobby Gould.
Wales appointed Bobby Gould, who was an experienced player, but he'd never played at international level. I think that came back to haunt him when he was dealing with big characters,
And then that whole circus surrounding his time in charge.
Having a fight with John Hartson on the training ground, and he said this was a rumble and it'd be good for morale.
Robbie Savage in the Maldini shirt and throwing it in a bin on the eve of a big game.
He had them training at a Prescoid open prison because we couldn't have grounds.
The fact that he put himself on the pitch and played in a friendly at Cymru.
He certainly was an interesting character. To bring himself on for Wales summed up what type of guy he was.
I think Giggs did an amazing cross for Bobby Gould, and he did a diving header and scored.
But I remember nobody went to congratulate him. Everyone just ran back, so I guess that sums it up,
Wales arranged a fixture with Leyton Orient, and me, obviously, had to go down to London to watch it. No way did we expect to lose it.
That's how low we were back then. Probably no shock to us all. The ones who go regularly to watch Wales weren't shocked by that result.
I've seen Wales lose away 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1 and 7-1. But losing to Leyton Orient, that was not good at all.
I can just remember somebody was going to these games thinking, what are we doing here? We're paying good money to travel to see our country play, and there's this circus going on in the background.
There was a point where we used to sing, especially on away trips, "We'll never qualify, we'll never qualify," because we never did we?
I'd like to take credit for that. Me and my mate Coles were singing that in Amsterdam.
I would argue that I thought that was my song, actually. Probably Keith younger than me, older than me, sorry. He's seen more games than me, so maybe I did hear it off Keith. I still can't believe we qualified for the Euros, because we actually thought we'll never qualify.
The fan base was fundamentally different then. There was no discernible fashion unity amongst fans, and it was overwhelmingly male.
We had this culture, but it wasn't quite as obvious. We didn't, if you like, have the uniform. We weren't wearing similar shirts. We weren't wearing branded T-shirts or the bucket hats, which have become so popular.
I think for me personally, just by chance the bucket hats came about. I think it was Germany away. We used to drink in the pub next door to the post office, and they started selling Welsh bucket hats. And we all bought a few to go over to Nuremberg, and that probably was the start of the interest. But I think that sort of era influenced you in wanting to see the world and explore a bit. And the best way for us, as a group of friends, was going to watch football.
We hardly won away in years and years and years. We used to go away on away matches for a whole week, and we wouldn't even discuss the football.
Amser ni'n dilyn Cymru i ffwrdd, wel a gatra hefyd, mewn un ffordd dwi ddim cymryd y wahaniaeth os beth yw'r cynlyniad achos ni'n mynd i mwynhau'r trips beth bynnag.
Even if there was only 200 or 300, we had lots of fun, and if we picked up a result on the road at the time, it was a massive evening after the game. You celebrated a single win or a draw.
Yeah, I mean, there was a period where when the Soviet Union broke up and all the satellite states sprung out, so like Moldova, where we went to, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and we thought, oh, great, some sides we can beat. We went there, we lost to all of them, and we were useless.
Moldova was an interesting trip. There was no Moldovan embassy in the UK, so we actually flew to Bucharest, train up then, up to a place on the border called Iași. Taxi driver made the sign like this to sleep, because he only knew one word we could understand. He said mafia. He wanted to stay on the border till light, but we persuaded him to drive through to the Moldovan capital. Wish we'd listened to him. We then had a puncture. I remember asking in the hotel, will the Moldovan supporters be angry when they lose? We didn't find out. We lost 3-2.
Yeah, the one place I remember going to was Albania. Albania had only recently opened up to allow any sort of tourist in. Arriving there at the stadium, and you expect the stadium to be maybe cleaner than the streets sometimes, but going up the steps, walking up to the concourse, it was covered in mud. And also the locals were not amused by us, and they were making snowballs out of mud and chucking those mud balls at us during the game as well.
I think the game of the Bobby Gould era was Brazil away. The thing I remember, I was in Rio, and Brasilia was like a 4-hour flight away, and I was in first class on this plane, so there was like 4 guys next to me in suits. So I was trying to talk to them during the flight, and they couldn't really speak English. So I was trying to say, I'm going to watch Wales and Brazil, and they were sort of smiling. And the next day, we were in the Wales hotel, and we decided to go for a drink in the Brazil hotel. And this guy who'd been sat by me on the plane, he was there in a tracksuit, so one of the boys said, oh, there's a guy waving you over there. Why would you know him, man? I said, well, I don't really know him, I don't know who he is. Like, he's obviously something to do with Brazil. He said, what do you mean you don't know him? It was Rivaldo. He's the world's most expensive player at the time. And I sat next to him before I was on the plane, no idea who he was.
Incredible stuff, incredible times. The trips were amazing, absolutely fantastic. But there was just a small niche group of us going, because obviously we were absolutely dreadful on the pitch, but it was great fun off the pitch, seeing all these new states and the people. You know, they were really friendly, really nice, really welcoming.
We always used to have a good result now and again, like, you know, to keep the hope going that we turn the corner.
The game against Denmark is one game that really hit home.
We went there expecting to lose as normal. In fact, one of the lads, he had lipstick on his back, ready to run on the pitch with Bobby Gould must go. And then we scored. So I don't know how he got the lipstick off.
But they soon fell down again, because 6 months later we went to Switzerland and lost 2-0. And, well, I think the following game then Bobby was over after Italy away.
Yeah, it was the 4-0 in Bologna. We lost 4-0, but you know, Joe's made about 10 fantastic saves.
We'd just come out of the ground after the defeat, and it was announced that Gould had resigned, and it was like, oh my God, there is a God. You know, he's gone, thank God he's gone.
We were so comfortable under Bobby Gould, we knew we'd lose most of the games. I'm not sure this is coming across as it should. But yeah, I enjoyed the 4 years he was manager, but it's probably one of the few. So when he left, I always thought, you know, we're going into the unknown now, who's next, like, you know?
Hugh's got the job. I remember him stating at the time he was going to revamp everything from the training to how they approached games.
Y ffaith bod wedi chwarae'r I tîmoedd mawr fel Man United a Barcelona pethau, wel, bydde fe wedi dysgu lot o pethau da o'r wahanol reolwyr oedd wedi bod yn gweithio gyda nhw. So
I think it was a big change, you know, going to the national stadium and keeping ticket prices competitive meant that people would go to international games who didn't go to see club football in Wales.
You know, it had its moments. I think, you know, we sold out against Azerbaijan one time, 72,000 people there.
Even my, you know, the English lads I knew were going, wow, you know, that is fantastic. Things are changing for you. Hope it carries on for you, sort of thing.
Well, I think Finland was the first game, and Mark Hughes had insisted on playing there and selling tickets for £5, so it more or less sold out. We lost 2-1, but everyone was like bought into it then. And then we played Argentina, we drew 1-1 with them. Then we had Brazil, I think we had Germany. They all snowballed. And by the time got to 2002, I think we kicked off with Finland away. We beat them 2-0. The momentum was there.
You know, we've talked about we'll never qualify on that. The optimism around that campaign was unbelievable, you know.
Then we had the Italian game where we won 2-1. And, you know, the group just went from game to game, man.
You know, we were playing Italy at home in the Millennium Stadium. You know, the atmosphere that day, the stadium was absolutely bouncing. You know, I've never been to a Wales game where everybody felt we were going to actually beat a big team as good as Italy.
Italy, you knew they're a good team, and every player, you know, was a top-class player with a top-class club.
And I remember John Charles was on the pitch as well. Tears coming down. Makes me cry, think of it with John Charles now.
It was great, you know, the atmosphere was, it was proper football evening, that was.
When the game started, the decibels, they've gone up to a different level now. And the Italian players didn't want to hold the ball. Every player had the ball, passed it as soon as he had it, and we took advantage of that.
Bellamy scored, and it was one of them where, you know, tears in your eyes, hugging people around you.
And then obviously we partied into the night back then. We really did, you know. We were just happy to beat a team like Italy, and whatever happened after was a bonus, but it didn't last for long maybe. The game after away wasn't the best, was it? So.
It was a dark night in Milan, to be honest with you, and I don't mean it was just bleak and black outside, but we went to the San Siro and there was an ugly, ugly feeling.
We had a lot of hope going into that game. I think we took 7,500 Wales away fans back then, which was unthinkable, you know, back then. The day of the game, you know, great atmosphere, everybody mix in, everybody get on, but I think it all changed once the Welsh fans actually arrived at the San Siro. And it was quite nasty.
As the game kicked off, the fans, for some reason, were allowed to stand above us, and they started spitting at us, filling bottles with bodily fluids and throwing them down.
Being sick on us and urinating on us and throwing coins at us throughout the game.
To throw things from above on innocent kids, families, wives, children, you know, it was pretty bad.
That was one of the earliest games where Wales had probably taken such vast numbers to an away game, you know, and it was a family event.
The great pity about it was because we were on a high, that should have been the start of the rebirth. And a lot of them said, if that's what football's about, I don't want to come.
I think the treatment the Wales fans had at the hands of the Italians, you know, was caused people more distress than the actual result itself.
What was the result?
Lost 4-0.
Back in those days, there were terrible scenes of football hooligans throwing tables at each other and fighting and smashing bottles. We wanted to say, we're not like that. It doesn't have to be that way.
My first recollection of goal was we played Finland away in 2002 with Dylan Llewellyn, Gary Pritchard and Duncan Jardine, and we were talking about doing something in Azerbaijan because we were playing there in November. 200 Wales fans went to Azerbaijan and we had a raffle in the Lancaster Gate, the pub there. I think we raised about £1,500 and a few of us went to an orphanage and it all started from that really.
There was no infrastructure in these places. The Soviets just left it rotting, and we've seen that. We've seen that people were poor, we've seen that, and we felt that we could do something, you know, as a group of fans, and we were just a small group. You know, going to these games, you're talking a couple of hundred at most of the times.
I think the only anything near that in any way you had before was, say, Cardiff City supporters or Wrexham supporters taking organised trips abroad. With this, it's good to see fans from all over Wales coming together for a good cause that helps people in very needy countries.
I remember taking sports shoes for every child in a home in Latvia. In Serbia, we brought them a fridge. In Bosnia, they wanted a camera to record the children's histories. We wanted to thank these people for being welcoming, but also what was important to us was that we were giving an image of football fans which was kind and helpful and welcoming. And I'd like to think that we've kind of raised the status not just of the fans and football, but of course the Welsh nation too with these visits.
See these kicks, so hard to beat. Every time she walks down the street, another girl in the neighborhood wishes mine, she looks so good. I wanna hold her tight. Yeah, teenage chicks like through the night. Alright.
What I found at the time was a huge game for Wales. We didn't really seem to get the publicity that we would these days. It was like, you know, good luck in Russia, hope you come back in one piece, like, you know, but to get a 0-0 draw out there was, you know, it was a good result.
I mynd mewn i'r stadiwm, o'n i goffa mynd trwy lot o fel y checkpoints fel yr heddlu gyda'i hetiau ffyr a'i gynnau. Wel, o'n i bron wedi colli'r anthem i ddechrau achos o'n i'n cymaint o stops ar y ffordd. Y ffaith bod ni wedi cael gêm gyfartal na yn ffab, o'n i'n eitha hyderus wedyn.
Passport to Portugal! Hey, Portugal, here we come!
Meddwl, wel, okay, sort of job done man hyn, angen mynd nôl I Caerdydd I gorffen e.
What frustrates me is that we actually, I think Mark Hughes did everything right on that night, and then you go to the home leg, he did everything wrong, in a lot of people's opinion.
Again, we'd had the draw away. We thought we can now finish this, but you know, we just didn't perform on the night. You know, we were so close, and would we ever qualify?
I think after that game, we all felt, you know, especially people who'd been to both games, home and away, felt here we go again, and you know, will it ever happen for us at our age?
And then it was a case of where do we go next? You know, this was another Romania, you know, another Scotland. Where do we go next? Is this Wales' destiny really to get to playoffs and then never actually qualify?
After that defeat to Russia, of course, Mark Hughes left us as Wales national manager, and John Toshak came back in. It was like Groundhog Day, you know, it was like history repeating itself. Why are we doing this to ourselves? As it happens, Toshak ended up with quite a good win record. But at the time you thought, you know, we'll never qualify, we'll never qualify. That's the lot of a Welsh football fan.
Mae gen I broblem, gen I erioed, dwi'n methu stopio siarad am bêl droed, gen I broblem. Mae gen I erioed, dwi'n methu stopio siarad am bêl droed, gen I broblem. Mae gen I erioed, dwi'n methu stopio siarad am bêl droed, gen I broblem. Gen I erioed, dwi'n methu stopio siarad am bêl droed.
Da ni am gael canlyniad, fan ydy'r lle I mynd.